Hey everybody, welcome to Positive Conversations once again with David and Donna. I'm David.
I'm Donna.
And I'm
And
Henry.
there you go.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
Henry, let me tell you what happens today. So David knows this about me. When I need something, I manifest it. It just comes to me. He's been around me long enough to know that that's just how I operate. So I was actually exercising this morning thinking, I don't have a really good idea for positive conversations. What can we talk about? And I knew that it would come to me. That's just how I work. So right after I had that thought, Henry sent me a message on Remind and asked me a question, and we just chatted a little bit. And I'm like, hey, why don't you be on Positive Conversations? Because you can talk to us about what you've been doing.
Yeah,
And
and here.
there was my answer. There it was. So to give a little background to anybody who doesn't know us, David obviously was my student if you've been listening to me, but Henry is my student now. He's in my 8th hour, my first ever 8th hour in my whole life. So Henry, talk a little bit about 8th hour and just what you think about being in my class.
There was a weird change between my sophomore and my junior year. They did this thing where it's a block schedule.
Yes.
They You have 4 classes a day, 5 classes a day,
Yes.
and you have first and 8th hour every day, and the 3 classes in between change both days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got used to it. It's a little more tiring. It wears me out a little bit more, but you have to have one more elective now. So instead of, at the freshman high, you got one elective. Then once we moved to the high school, last year I had 2, and now I have 3. So
Mm-hmm.
every year they just decided that I should have one more elective than the year before. So I was looking through electives, and I was like, oh, law studies, something that I'm interested in. Like, why not take it? And I took it, and I walked into 8th hour the first day of school in Summers Vanos, and it was a lot at first. It was a lot different than teachers because she's so energetic and she has such a good vibe, and it's a good thing to have at the end of the day compared to the monotone people throughout. But it's nice. It's definitely refreshing, and it's a good way to end my day every day.
Oh, and we have such a good class too. That was the first class at the beginning of the year that had a person in every seat. I had 32 people in 8th hour, which a lot of teachers would have just thought would be a recipe for disaster. But I don't know. We just clicked with each other, and we all are tired by that time. Like, none of us are used to having that one more class, and it's kind of like come in and just chill, and we just really get along with each other. And I look forward to 8th hour every day. I just really enjoy it. And one of the reasons is because of Henry. And so Henry was sitting way away from me at the beginning of the year, and I don't know what made him decide, but he started sitting next to me in the front. So he would come sit next to me while I was teaching, and he kind of became my sidekick. And so, of course, being away from him with this abrupt ending to our school year, and we may or may not go back. We still don't know yet. But it's a hard separation. So that kind of brings us to our topic today, which is we're all being forced to be away from each other, quarantine, and we're all dealing with it in many different ways. So Henry has told me that he has created a schedule, and David and I talked about that last time. So let's hear about your schedule.
I mean, it's not really like a schedule. It's like a routine. It's just something that I like to do every day. I firmly believe that you should sleep until you wake up, unless you have something that's gonna get in the way of that. I think that sleep's really important, and it may just be because I sleep very long and I like sleep. But every night, I think that while you're in quarantine, the best thing to do is to fill up all of your time with stuff that you like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have the urge to stay up at night and go do something or play something or talk to someone, I think that you should stay up. I've been staying. I mean, it's been late, but I think that sleeping has been a really good thing that's impacted my mood and how I feel. And so
Mm-hmm.
usually I'll stay up, do something, or if I want to go to sleep early, it really just depends on what I want to do. And whenever I wake up in the morning, it's usually around like 10, 11, and I immediately get up, take a shower, and do all the work that I have for the day. And I found that really does impact how I feel and how stressed I am. And I think that if you do all of your work at once and you do it you just power through it all, you do it correct, you do it right, and you just try to get it done the first thing. I found that it makes my day go by a lot faster. It makes me feel a lot better because I can do the stuff that I want to do after I do my work
Mm-hmm.
instead of doing a little bit of it, taking a break. And I've just found that if I wake up and do all of my work, I then can fill the rest of my day with stuff that I enjoy.
So can I ask you to give us an example of what your work is right now?
So right now I have 5 classes that I have to keep up with on Google Classroom, and two really big ones are my math class. I have a class with Southeastern. It's dual enrollment, and it's like college calculus and like college trig.
Right.
And I have the other one's English. I have a gifted and like an AP gifted class, English. And both of those, I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's not horrible work. Like it's not something that I just sit there and hate, but it's not something I really enjoy. And it just, I mean, it takes up time. It does, but it's not, it's not the worst thing in the world.
So how long do you spend each day doing schoolwork?
I mean, some days like on the weekends none of the teachers post anything, but I think that on Friday I had like a little less than like an hour of homework, maybe like 45 minutes, it's a good day. And then sometimes I'll have like 2 or 3 hours worth of homework, and it goes by a lot faster if you just do it all at once and you just do it correctly. I think you get more involved in it, you get deeper into it, and it's easier to do.
So what do you do when you wake up, take your shower, and sit down at your computer and you just really don't want to do your schoolwork? I
don't think that it's ever really like that. I think that if you sit there like if you sit there at like 11 at night and you're like, I really don't want to do schoolwork tomorrow, I think that it makes it worse. I think that it's definitely a psychological thing. If you sit there and tell yourself that you don't want to do it, you're going to want to do it even less. So you
don't tell yourself that. You don't ever have that in your head.
No, I like to. I've had I mean, feel like everybody goes through their deal of stress, but I think that for me, what's worked the most is to take everything, 5 minutes in front of you and 5 minutes behind you. You should, worry about what's happened in the past for 5 minutes and then let it go because you can't change it, and worry about what you're doing in 5 minutes and then get through with it, and then worry about the next thing that you have to do. Because I think that a big thing that a bunch of people struggle with is thinking about the big picture and thinking about everything that they have to do. Yeah. And I think that stresses a bunch of people out because you're focusing on too many things at once. And I think that if you just focus on what's going on in the present and what's coming up, super, super soon, I think that helps a lot with stress.
Yep. Be here now. Absolutely. So what are your thoughts, David?
I think that is a great, how do I phrase that? I was going to say great word to live by, but it's lots of words. You know what I mean? I like it a lot. It's a little bit different from what I would hear usually, which I like. Most people are like, in quarantine, make sure you go to bed and make sure you go to bed at the time. So you're saying it's a normal schedule, but I like the way that you're doing things. Just do kind of what you want, and because it's your free time to be able to do what you want and live how you want to live, while also, as long as you're maintaining your responsibilities, and if you're giving yourself plenty of time to do the things you want to do, it makes doing your responsibilities a lot easier, a lot less stressful, because you know that, well, it's okay if I'm doing an hour of homework because I'll just stay up an hour later playing a video game because I can, and then I can sleep in an hour later tomorrow because I can, and everything's going to be fine.
Cool.
And I mean, I've also found that having a really rigid schedule it's a lot more stressful because you have to worry about times. And I just found, I mean, it's different for everybody. It's different for some people like the rigid schedule, but for me personally, I find that it's a lot easier to do my schoolwork. Once I would rather, stay up a little bit later, sleep in a little bit more, and have that comfortable amount of sleep to where I wake up and I don't want to sleep anymore. Right. Because if I wake up at 9 a.m. and I want to get an hour more of sleep, I'm going to focus more on how tired I am than the actual work.
So I want to bring up something I mentioned on an earlier podcast, and I don't remember if it was a stay creative or a stay positive, but I talked about a student who came into my room because he was upset about what was going on in his class, and he wanted to just come in my room so he could be around some good vibes. And that was Henry, for anybody who listened to that other podcast. Oh. So Henry is my good vibes guy. So he's a whole lot like me. Yeah, he's a lot like me in that respect. But earlier when we spoke, or typed actually on Remind, he said that he has been feeling some stress. So why don't you talk about that, Henry?
I think that it's just like it's a general stress, and I feel like everybody that I've talked to about it kind of feels it. It's definitely it's stressful because if you think about it on a pretty simple level, we're just sitting inside. But if you think about it on a more complex level, you think about um, all of these things that are happening around you, and I think it's just like an overlying cloud, and
Yes.
you can't really put your finger on exactly what it is, but it's just like
Hmm.
I always feel like there's something that's going on, and I mean, it is stressful, and it's something that I haven't been able to escape from this whole time. And I think that it's a big mental thing sitting inside all day. It's
Hmm.
something that I can't do because I feel like I'm such like an extroverted person.
You
Um,
are. You are very much.
I like to go places and see things, and I like to hang out
Hmm.
with people. Like I can't just be alone all the time. It
Hmm.
just I just get in my head, and it messes with the whole like it messes with me as a person.
Well, do you go outside, just in the yard in the sunlight?
Yeah, I went outside with my girlfriend the other day, and we were just doing homework outside. It was a hot day, and so I just sat by the pool and did homework, and she tanned, and it was nice because I felt like I was doing something that I did like doing.
Hmm. I mean, even just walk outside, literally just get
Hmm.
out of the house. And I've spent sometimes 2 or 3 days in a row where I don't step foot outside the door. And I'm like, okay, I need to go step outside. No, in my normal daily routine, to be honest, I don't spend a lot of time outside. I mean, from the time I get out of my door to my vehicle and then get out of my vehicle and walk to my classroom, sometimes that's the only outside time I get because I just have a lot going on. So now that we're stuck in our homes, which includes our yards, however big that might be, even if it's just a balcony you can step out on. It really is very beneficial, in my opinion, to just get into the different environment. You can go to different rooms in your house, but it's not at all the same as getting out. And I walked in the yard the other day. I called both of my sisters, and we were on a conference call. And I just walked around in my yard the whole time. I was barefoot, so I could feel the energy of the earth and see the clouds and hear the birds, and it just really that helps a lot. So maybe you can incorporate that into your routine.
Hmm. It'll make you drive a little less crazy, I think. Just
It's
feeling
just
some sun on your
nature
face.
helps, but yeah, but it's a change of environment as well, I think. So what else can we talk about? Who has something to
Um,
add?
I don't know. I feel like I have family that lives all over, and
Hmm.
I feel like there's always a positive and a negative. I feel like there's never you can't ever just be in a super bad situation where everything's bad.
Hmm.
So I think that I mean, we live in Louisiana. It's a really rural part of the country.
Hmm.
I mean, even, me living closer to the city, it's still not comparing to bigger places, bigger cities. And my dad lives in New York, and
Oh.
he um he got he got hit with the quarantine really bad. And he's moving at the same time. He started moving on I think it was March 14th, 15th. So he was moving into a bigger apartment near like Columbus Square, and so that hit him really hard. He's not allowed to go anywhere, and there's a really big crisis with how much food is it's hard to go to the grocery store and even get food
Mm.
for yourself. So he stocked up on that as quick as he could, and I feel like even though it does suck being inside, I feel like I am thankful for being able to get food and being able to get it a lot less than
I totally
Yeah,
agree. So
yeah.
did he get to move to his other apartment or not?
Yeah, he did. It was really hard. He was calling me through it, and he was moving right whenever the whole hysteria hit,
Yeah.
and so he was moving while everybody was in their cars walking around trying to get food, and so moving 6 blocks is like moving 12 blocks.
Hmm. Wow. What were you going to say, David? I think I interrupted you.
Um, I am sorry. I think I was just gonna say something like, um, looking on the positives is all you can really do in
Hmm.
times, and
I agree.
and knowing that it'll all be over soon enough.
Well, and that's another issue that I don't say worried, but I've been noticing is that people are ignoring the the quarantine, and that's just going to make the quarantine that much longer.
Yeah.
I just wish people would understand.
Yeah, fun fact. Let's talk about the quarantine. It's important to to um to follow it. That's the only way it's gonna ever stop. So
End.
I've been
Right.
thinking about this a lot, and a question I throw around is, well, when's it gonna end? It's not like there's gonna be a cure, blah blah blah. And no, it's not just gonna one day be cured and then we get to come out of quarantine in a week. It's not how it works. What we're trying to do is just stop this rapid growth of
Mm-hmm.
and spread of the virus. The amount of cases that there are now, it's growing so quickly, and the more people that have it, the faster it's going to grow. And so, no,
Mm-hmm.
we're not just going to be able to come up with a cure, but if we can just slow down the spread of it and get it to a flat point where it's not rising like that every day, then it'll give our healthcare system some relief, our doctors and nurses some
Mm-hmm.
relief. It'll stabilize things long enough for there to be a vaccine that is created and things for go back to normal. We I saw a great analogy where we want this to turn into what the flu is, which is no, there is no just cure for the flu, but there's a vaccine. It doesn't spread. It spreads, but it doesn't grow like it's doing.
Yeah, it doesn't rapidly spread as much as this is
Right. And
spreading.
so just follow
Mm-hmm.
that. And the best way to do it, it's the only thing you can do as an individual is self isolate, follow the quarantine. If a lot of people don't may not trust the government or the system, whoever's working for you, but if especially if you don't, well then you have to do your part even more, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
is if you're
Yeah.
not a scientist and you're not creating a vaccine, stay inside and um,
Mm-hmm.
don't risk spreading it to people because it's not just as simple as you touch a person and now it's just you two have came in contact. You have now come in contact with every single person that person's come in contact with, and then all those people came in contact with, and vice versa. So
Absolutely.
just follow the quarantine and
I
Well,
think
everything will be
you.
that
fine.
I think that there's a lot of people that aren't taking the quarantine seriously, and I do. There's a big argument with people that aren't taking it seriously that it's if you look at the fatality rates for people that are under the age of 50, it's less than a percent. So of course, if I'm a healthy 16-year-old white male by all of the demographics, I'm all right. But I think that there's two really big concerns. I think that the first one is carrying the virus and then transmitting it to someone that doesn't have a healthy immune system. I mean, if I go out and I go places and I don't listen to the quarantine, then I have the possibility of giving it to someone that doesn't have a healthy immune system. Like,
Right.
if we weren't to quarantine, I have my math teacher has a heart condition, and if I were to have the virus and give it to her, then she were to have, I think it's a 20% chance if you have a pre-existing health condition.
Yep.
So it's really scary to think about um, giving it to people. And I think that the other thing that you should worry about is overwhelming the healthcare system. I think
Right.
if you we currently, with the amount of cases that we don't have enough respirators
Mm-hmm.
for even
Hmm.
I know.
that.
For even who's already
And that's
infected, yeah.
now.
So that's the big takeaway is just take it a bit more seriously, and that's how we're going to survive it. Is all just working together. Um,
Well, I wanted to say something about when you said what we can do, because that was another thought I had this morning. I feel like a lot of people are at home quarantining like they're supposed to, but they're thinking, what can I do to help? And I feel
I
like
apologize for my
there
dog
are
barking.
opportunities. Hello,
Yeah.
doggy. A lot of people are like actually sewing masks, which I think is cool if you have that capability. There are ways you can donate, and it's kind of a tricky thing because anybody could pop up a coronavirus fund on the internet and you don't know where the money's really going. But I've always donated to the food bank, and right now, especially with our school systems being closed and because of the stricter quarantine requirements, there's a lot more difficulty getting food to the families that need it through the school system. So donating to the food bank, in my opinion, is a really good way to help in this time if you have that capability. But I personally believe, and I've believed this for as long as I've been learning about meditation and kind of trying to raise my own energy and vibration, that each person's energy connects with everybody else's. So at the very least, at what everybody can do is take care of themselves, like be your best self. And I think that a whole lot of that goes with learning how to not worry about everything. So sitting quietly and either meditating or doing whatever helps you to be calm, and then facing the day with whatever positive intention you can find. It could just be the positive aspect of, I have time right now to sit here and listen to this song I haven't heard in 5 years, and I love this song, and I never have time to do this, or I've always wanted to learn this skill, and now I can sit here and do it. And you're keeping yourself occupied in a positive way. And if everybody is sending all their positive energy into the universe, I really think that helps a whole lot. So even if that's all you're doing is taking care of yourself and being positive, I feel like that waves out and helps other people, which is a big reason David and I do this particular podcast. Just, stay positive, find something positive. Like obviously right now, even though we're hearing about lots of deaths, we're also hearing about the environment, and the water's getting clear, the air's getting clear. People are seeing birds in huge cities, and that, you know what I'm saying? There is positive out there. You just have to look for it.
Excuse me one moment.
Sure. What you got to say about that, Henry?
I think that if you're staying inside, I think that's the best thing that you can do. And I think that as long as you're quarantining yourself and keeping yourself busy, I think that's great. And I think that that's all that you can do. But I still think that that's something amazing that you're doing. I think that you're helping yourself and you're helping others at the same time.
Absolutely. Definitely. So you said something about, I'm trying to remember what we said back and forth in my mind. I don't have it in front of me, about things you can't do. So what is stressing you the most about things you can't do other than visiting people?
It's just, there's things that I have to put on hold, and I understand why I have to put them on hold, and I understand that it's something that I have to do, but it's a little disappointing, and I think that I'm allowed to be a little disappointed. But
I totally agree, but I wanted to know which things you were talking about.
I had a few trips that I was going to go on, which isn't, the worst in the world. It's things that I had planned, things that weren't planned but could happen. You're restricted from doing a lot of things, and I think that that's the biggest thing, is that if you aren't able to do something, you want to do it more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Amelia, we're going to go to Galapagos. Were you going to go on that trip, the Galapagos trip?
I wasn't, but I was planning on going to a trip to like London with my dad. He has business there, and he was like, "Hey, you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah." So it wasn't something that was, we didn't have tickets, but it was a loose plan. It was some loose planning that we were talking about it. And it's something that I'm not going to be able to do this summer because of it. And it's something that I'm going to have to deal with, but I'm still a little disappointed about it. But
I know. I don't think that it's bad at all. I think maybe people are feeling guilty about their disappointment, but not at all. I mean, obviously there are things, just for our school, prom, graduation, are these things going to occur? We think they are, but we don't know when or how or whatever. We still don't even know when or if we're going back to school yet. It just totally depends on what happens as we continue forward. So, obviously, huge things are, looming ahead of us that we wish we could do. We've already, I'm sure, missed out on many things. A lot of people are having birthdays and they can't go out and have their big birthday celebration during this time. So we just have to adapt. And there are people doing all kind of like virtual parties and people standing out on balconies singing happy birthday to each other. So when you look at, different ways people are handling it and finding a different way to, you can be disappointed, but then flip it over and say, okay, what can I do that would make me happy? Maybe obviously not as important as going to London, but just what can I do now that is different or unique, or who can I connect with and at least talk about my disappointment? Because that's important too, I think.
It's a sacrifice that you have to make, and it's something that everybody's going to have to deal with. And it's understandably so. And I think that if you sacrifice this right now, it's going to save you from sacrificing something else later. I think that if you do what you need to do now, it's going to be a lot easier than doing what you have to do because you didn't do it earlier.
I agree. It's a hard thing to kind of wrap your head around, but it's just what we all have to, it's the mindset we all have to adopt for this to finally reach its climax and start going back down. And we're still on the rise. I mean, everything in the news keeps talking about how there are more and more and more and more cases. So we just got to keep doing our part to flatten that curve and start letting it go down the other side, you know?
Yeah. So one more thing I want to bring up just real quick is we got a comment on our last self-isolation video that we made last episode of Positive Conversations, and it's from YouTube user Link Cannon, who commented, "This made my day."
Henry!
Oh, it's you?
No!
What?
Oh my goodness, that's one of our 8th-hour students. That's so
okay,
exciting. Great. All right, so what did Link tell us?
This made my day. Might I suggest trying to practice social distancing while working outside, like starting a garden or walking your dog.
Okay. Well, you know, my daughter would love to have a pet dog so she can walk him and have company, but we don't have a dog because my husband's allergic. But I think having an animal to interact with, and especially a dog that you have to take outside, is really helpful right now. And, you know, we also just bought some plants and planted them in some planters outside, which we haven't done in 10 years, you know. So that was a nice thing. Get your hands in the dirt and watch some flowers grow. So I agree with both of those comments. Love that.
Yeah, thank you, Link. Comment on this one too.
Yeah.
And don't forget to like and
yes, please. Yeah. You still there, Henry?
Yes, I am. I think that anything that fills up your time is something that's positive. I think that no matter what it is, it's doing good. It's helping you out, and it's keeping you occupied. And I think that that's a really important thing.
It is. We pulled out one of our goofy games somebody gave us for Christmas one year that we never looked at, and me and Amelia and Sam sat around the table and just played a goofy game and did silly things and, you know, just laughed and took silly pictures with our phones. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that I wouldn't be doing. I wouldn't even be seeing my son right now because he's been off in Baton Rouge working, but he's back with us right now because the restaurant's closed. And, you know, it's just nice to have the time together, even though we all can get on each other's nerves. It's like, when else would we ever do this, you know? So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, look on the positives of things.
It's just a mind shift. You can do it. It's just you have to make yourself think that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we should wrap it up. Henry, I guess you got to go soon, huh?
Yeah, probably.
All right. Well, tell us your closing thoughts about all this information that we went over.
I think that it's really important to keep yourself busy. I think that it's important to let yourself do the things that you like, and I think that it's important to take the quarantine seriously and to just get through it.
Totally. I agree.
Thank you so much.
Well, we try to keep it, 20 to 30 minutes. We just hit it right on time and at a perfect time for Henry. He says he's got a busy schedule today, so I'm glad you could fit us in. How perfect. How wonderful.
How positive.
So I guess how positive, yes. Well, I guess I'll let David close us out today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Henry. Really appreciate it. Come back anytime. And everyone else, don't forget to leave a comment just like Link and tell us what you think, and like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a positive conversation in this troubling time. Thank you so much for listening.
Right.
And I already said don't forget to like and subscribe. So just
we'll say it one more time. Please like and subscribe us.
David
and Donna
and Henry.
Stay positive.